they connect a brass rake. When the rake moves, it pulls the lever, which opens the valve, unblocking the tone hole. Air enters and vibrates the reed, producing the note. Each keyboard button opens 3 valves. That's why pushing one button produces a 3-note chord. With the complex connections between buttons and reeds complete, the reed blocks go into a celluloid-on-plywood housing. It'll attach to the bellows made of strong pleated cardboard, reinforced with leather and metal corner protectors. But before permanently attaching the bellows, all the reeds have to undergo a final and very extensive tuning adjustment. An accordion can have up to 600 reeds, so this meticulous reed-by-reed tuning can take up to 16 hours. They now pin the bellows' wood frame ends to the treble and bass housings. Then they cap each housing with a cloth-covered grill to keep out dust. After polishing the accordion to a high-gloss finish, it's time for a musical road test in white gloves. There's no sense in leaving fingerprints on that exquisitely polished surface. With the test checklist complete, the inspector signs off on it. You can't say this job's all work and no play. The pineapple is native to South America, but colonization spread it to other tropical areas. The Latin name for pineapple is ananas, which comes from nana, what the natives called the plant. The English word pineapple came from the European explorers, who thought that this strange but delicious fruit looked like a giant pine cone. Pineapples need temperatures between 73 and 86 degrees Fahrenheit and full sun. It takes 7 months for the pineapple plant to produce a bunch of little reddish-purple flowers. At this first bloom, as it's called, farmers spray the plant with ethylene, a natural gas that stimulates full flowering. As that happens, the stem of the flower bunch gradually thickens and becomes bulbous. This is the pineapple. 5 months after first bloom, a year since the last harvest, a fresh crop of pineapples is ripe for the picking. But not before the farm has tested samples to make sure the sweetness level is just right. This is prickly business, so the workers have to wear gloves, long sleeves, safety glasses, and rubber boots. The pineapples travel from the field to the factory upside down. That way, the crown of leaves bears the weight of the fruit during the bumpy ride. Upon arrival at the factory, the pineapples go through a 10-step cleaning in chlorinated water. This washes away insects and frog eggs. Frogs like to lay their eggs in pineapple crowns. A final rinse with clean water removes any chlorine residue. Now, workers classify the pineapples and cut off misshapen crowns. A first-class pineapple has a straight crown and no more than 3 damaged eyes, those diamond shapes on the peel. If a pineapple passes the first-class test, it's fit for export. Second class sells on the domestic market. Third becomes dried fruit, and fourth, juice. At the drying plant for third-class pineapples, workers first chop off the crown and then about 2 inches from the bottom end. With a coring machine, they remove the pineapple's hard center called the heart. Knife-wielding employees work their magic, each peeling 5 to 7 pineapples per minute. The coarse skin dulls the blades quickly, so they have to keep sharpening their knives about every half hour. The peeled pineapples then move on to a slicing machine, which produces slices a little more than a ½ inch thick. The average pineapple yields about 7 slices. Workers place the slices on large trays. Load the trays on large racks. Then roll the racks into a gas oven. The slices bake for 24 hours between 147 and 151 degrees Fahrenheit. This dries them almost completely. When they come out of the oven, their moisture level is 6%, just enough to ensure the slices are chewy. From the oven to packaging. These preservative-free dried pineapple slices stay fresh in the package for 18 months. Now back to the pineapple factory, where the first-class fruits pass under a shower of hot wax. Fans cool and harden the wax into a coating that creates an air barrier. This slows the ripening process, ensuring the pineapples don't over-ripen by the time they arrive at their export destination. Last stop is the packaging and labeling department. Workers box pineapples with and without crowns separately. Those with crowns are for export. The crownless ones go to a canning factory to be sliced, diced, or crushed. From the field to your table. Pineapples are the fruit of many people's labors.
I humbly and gratefully accept your nomination for the presidency of the United States.
What's it for? It's good.
Protect myself. Why don't you have one?
Crime and violence that today afflicts our nation will soon come to an end.
We've been ran with politicians too long. We need a businessman.
I'm fighting for our country, but through music. He's not afraid to risk his life to save us all.
We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again.
What is it like to travel as a celebrity? Fly first class. Indulge in a luxurious spa. And gourmet dining with your personal tour guide.
There's more protein in maggots than there is in beef.
That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Running Wild with Bear Grylls. A new season starts Tuesday, 31st of January on Discovery Channel. If you're looking for high-octane stunts and stuntmen, this is definitely not the place.
Call the police for me.
What's going on?
He's ran me over. Call the police for me.
Okay.
Out here, fame has a price. It's accidents.
Take it easy.
Wheels that fail. Thursday nights at 10:50 on Discovery Channel. From 29th January, get disrupted at 9. As Discovery Channel's most iconic characters redefine each night of the week. Decoding, deconstructing, defying the status quo.
Life is good.
Don't miss the 3-night premiere event.
This is gonna be one proper adventure.
Get disrupted at 9. Starts 29th of January on Discovery Channel.
Artificial body parts used to be the stuff of science fiction. Nowadays, artificial joints at least are routine. An artificial joint is a prosthesis that surgeons insert to replace diseased or worn-out bone and cartilage. In nearly all cases, an artificial joint relieves pain and improves the range of motion. From your knees and hips to your wrists, elbow, and shoulders, If your joints go, you can replace them. An artificial joint has both metal and plastic components. The metal acts as bone, the plastic is cartilage. This factory makes the metal parts 3 ways. It either casts them, forges them, or machines them. Casting is the most complex method. The first step is to pressure inject melted wax into an aluminum mold. This makes a pattern, a wax replica of the metal part. Now they build the mold for casting the part in metal. Workers fuse a group of patterns with hot wax to a holder also made of wax. The patterns will shape the cavity in the molds. They submerge the patterns in a thick liquid ceramic, which soon hardens into a fragile shell around the wax. Then they sprinkle the shell with a mixture of 2 minerals, silica sand and zircon, to build up a strengthening crust. The shells now go into a furnace for about 2 hours. The intense heat hardens them and incinerates the wax inside, leaving a cavity in the pattern shape. The shells are now molds, strong enough to withstand molten metal. That metal is cobalt chrome. In this crucible, the chrome liquefies in about 10 minutes. They remove the molds from the furnace and lock them to the top of another one above the crucible. Then they flip it over. The molten metal flows from the crucible into the molds. It solidifies within 2 minutes. Then they transfer the hot molds to a cooling bin. Cold air flows around them for about 2 hours until they're finally cool enough to handle. Then workers mount each tree on an automated machine that works like a jackhammer. Each mold disintegrates, freeing the cast metal part inside. They use a saw to separate the parts from the tree. Then a grinding belt to remove any unnecessary metal that hardened in the channels. Next, they laser engrave a unique serial number on each part for tracking purposes. Every part undergoes a thorough inspection. They dust the part with fluorescent powder, then rinse it off. Powder residue settles in any flaw and glows under ultraviolet light. After inspection, they buff every part until the metal's so shiny you can see a reflection. Another method for making metal parts is forging. They use a titanium alloy, which is more flexible than cobalt chrome, making it better suited for hip joints in particular. They clean the metal, then heat it in a 2200-degree furnace. This 660-ton press forms one piece at a time into a preliminary shape. Then they move it to the next die and stamp twice to refine and then finalize the shape. The last stamping on the third die trims off excess metal and adds detail. The forged part now goes into a sandblasting chamber, which cleans the metal and gives the surface a matte finish. Here's what the part looks like before sandblasting and after. Now, a computer-guided milling machine smooths away the rough edge that trimming the excess metal left behind. This removes all but the last bit, so they get rid of that with a sanding belt. But sanding leaves metal residue behind, so the parts now go for a bath in a water-based citric solution. The metal surface has to be perfectly clean in order to stamp on the serial number in ink. Quite a difference before cleaning and after. Each and every metal part, whether forged or cast, goes to the quality control department. There, using digital calipers, an inspector checks all the dimensions, then examines the part under a magnifying glass. So far, we've seen 2 of the ways they make the metal parts of an artificial joint: casting and forging. The third method is coming right up.
What is it like to travel as a celebrity?